Intel feeling fine after dodging a 1.06 billion euro fine. That's pretty cool. They won their appeal against the 1.06 billion euro EU antitrust fine from 2009. Now, this is an interesting one because this has been sitting in the court system for over a decade. The original case found that Intel was guilty of blocking AMD from the market by providing rebates to Dell, HP, and Lenovo if they sourced 95% of their chips through Intel. Well, that sounds like a pretty open-shut antitrust violation, but let's go on, shall we? Intel was also found to have paid a manufacturer to delay shipment of AMD desktops to enterprise customers. Well, that seemed perfectly legit. One OEM apparently turned down an offer of 1 million free CPUs from AMD so that it could continue receiving rebates from Intel. Now, okay, both of those behaviors seem kind of problematic.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna be,
What the heck?
if I'm gonna be honest here.
We have often said neither side of the table has clean hands, but like, wow, that's I wonder what manufacturer that was, because both sides really want their business. It's probably like Dell or something. HP.
The EU's second highest court overturned the 12-year-old ruling that fined Intel for 4% of their $37.6 billion in sales in 2008, finding that the original analysis was, get this, incomplete and does not make it possible to establish the requisite legal standard that the rebates have anti-competitive effects. You know what I want? I want the highest court in the land to be the court of common sense.
Ooh.
That's what I want. The court of common sense would be able to get through these cases like real fast. Be like, oh, okay, hold on a second. You are actually offering rebates to your customers to incentivize them to not buy a competing product. I don't actually need your requisite legal standard that proves, that establishes the anti-competitive effects, because that's just basic.
It's quite literally anti-competitive.
And it's also just like, all right, what else we got? Yeah, the battle's been ongoing for years and included a rejection of Intel's initial appeal by the very same court back in 2014. During this initial appeal, Intel claimed that the fine violated its human rights. Why do corporations have human rights? The appeal was not successful because apparently that was the court of common sense back then. These kinds of rebates are generally concerning for regulators, especially when they're issued by a dominant competitor. Concerning, I think, is a mild word. This could be a good sign for Alphabet, who recently lost their appeal of a 2.4 billion euro fine for unlawfully combining Google Shopping with Google Search.
Okay. Which actually kind of, I don't know, that might be a good thing. But I liked that when that existed, because now I find that a lot of people default to Amazon because it's too hard to find what you want to buy elsewhere. And I try to avoid Amazon as much as I possibly can. But sometimes at this point, you don't really have a choice if there's a specific product that you do want or need or whatever, because it might just not be available anywhere other than Amazon, which is the problem that we're running into now. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's hard to find because the front page of Google or whatever will just be shreked. I mean, these days, sometimes there's like 5 or 6 ad links before you get to any of the actual real ones, which can be really frustrating. But I've heard this sentiment elsewhere, and I've been thinking about switching to it. But some people have been saying that they've started using DuckDuckGo, not because they're trying to get away from like activity tracking or anything like that, but because the results are actually getting really good.
Right.
And part of that being because of the amount of like sponsored or purchased ad spots at the top of Google searches. and like how many there will be sometimes.
Yeah,
Like I
there's
just
a
mentioned,
lot.
5 or 6. Okay, well now you have to scroll through to find what you're looking
Yeah,
for now.
it's like below the fold to
Yeah.
find a decent search result.
Because
now.
it'll be all these ad spots, and then it'll be like picture links or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's often very buried. So they're like, yeah, I go to DuckDuckGo because it's often the first link. Because a lot of things that I'm looking for, it's easy to find. I don't remember the URL and the like, the slashes afterwards to find it, so I'm going to Google it. But for those
or
types of things,
DuckDuckGo
or
it.
DuckDuckGo it. But for those types of things, DuckDuckGo is becoming literally more efficient. Not just not tracking you and the other benefits that it has, but literally more efficient, which is really interesting. I hope it's DuckDuckGo's day, because that would be really cool.
What do we? I mean, honestly, I don't know. I don't know how much conversation there is to have about the Intel fine getting.
I don't think
appealed.
there's a ton.
I think it's kind of ridiculous.
It's just that's a lot of money. That's all.
Okay, so here's a discussion question from one of our new writers who's not off probation yet. Do you feel like this sets a dangerous precedent for other dominant companies? Yeah. Now that AMD has clawed background in the CPU market, could we start seeing the same behavior from them? No, I don't think so. AMD is still not in a dominant position in anything. They are absolutely still an underdog in every market they
They
participate
just
in.
have a really strong foothold now,
They do.
which they didn't before.
Correct.
Yeah.
But even in the data center space, where AMD, from a competitive standpoint, is slaying, I'm just not convinced they can make enough chips to be in a dominant position, right? Like Intel has their own fabs. And then this is an interesting one. Do you think the EU backed off on Intel because of the announced big honkin' fab? Gee. That's a pretty smart take. So I don't know if you read that somewhere else or if that's your idea, but if it's your idea, it's a pretty that seems pretty